Yeah, I'm Jackson.
I'm Ryan.
I'm Mike, and our special guest today is
I'm Devan, Coach Dev.
Coach Dev, Debo. So, Devan, thank you for being here. My coach, I love my coach. Give me a little bit of background. Tell me a little bit about where you're from culturally.
Personally, I'm from Salt Lake City, Utah, so I was born and raised there. My dad is Tongan, so he's from Tonga. He came from the island. He migrated here when he was about 18. My mom's from Samoa, and she migrated here to go to college. And then they met in Hawaii, and they ended up in Utah, and that's kind of the basis of it. So I'm half Tongan, half Samoan.
Nice. So you're first generation, I would say, is it Polynesian? Would it be considered Samoan?
Yeah, so it's so small. So basically, like, there's a group of islands in the South Pacific that's known as Polynesia. Okay. And Tonga and Samoa fall into that, to that group. So
you're first generation that American.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
That
American.
The exact name it is.
Polynesian American.
Polynesian American.
There you go.
They just say Pacific Islander when we're doing the test. So.
Raj has the same thing.
Yeah.
The same thing because they're from Fiji. Yeah.
So you're for work. You're a coach, strength and conditioning coach, and everything. Just wondered if you could give us like an intro of how you kind of fell into that and what your backstory going into coaching was.
So we grew up playing sports. That was basically what we did growing up. The goal was always to play football in the NFL. But one of the things we did since I was really young was train with my dad. My dad was a power lifter. His brother was a big time power lifter, and that's kind of how he trained us. So he was always in the weight room growing up, and he brought us up in the weight room, my brother and my sisters and I. So it's just something that I kind of fell in love with early. You know, I love training. I fell in love with working out really early on, and so it's kind of just part of me while I was playing football. And then, so basically, when football ended, it was kind of a no-brainer. My brother had already got it into the field, so he'd already opened a gym by the time I was in college and started this thing. So when I was doing my degree and picking that, I was like, I'm just going to go into exercise sports science, and after football, then I'll just join my brother, and we'll just stick with coaching in terms of strength and conditioning.
Did you always feel like in pursuing that you were going to end up like with Vic as far as being at Forever Strong, or what was the route you wanted to go? Because there's a lot of different ways you can go with coaching between like private sector and colleges and all that.
Yeah. So I didn't really know, because to be honest, I was like, I'm going to make it to the NFL. Nothing else matters. This is just an easy degree for me to get, so I can focus more on football than school. And after I got medically retired in football, I had to. I started coaching up at Oregon State, so while I was finishing my degree over there, and I ended up coaching there for 2 years, and it was kind of cool. I was in the college sector, so that was it's different coaching than playing. You know, you play for strength and conditioning coaches, and it's a whole different ballgame, and I kind of enjoyed it working with college athletes. So I thought, maybe that's a different door, but it just didn't. I don't know. It didn't feel the same. I think after being in the college sector for 2 years, you start realizing like, you don't really have a lot of control over your destiny in that sector, and I'm a homebody, and I'm really big on my family. So it just, in the back of my mind and deep down inside, like I knew where I wanted to be, and so but I didn't want to like force myself on here, so I waited till my brother asked me. So once he asked, and I was like, packed my stuff, came straight down. So that's
And where was that? Came straight down from where?
I was in Corvallis.
Utah. Oh, Corvallis.
Yep.
Do you feel like you would ever see yourself coaching outside of Forever Strong? Like, what would be, if any, an opportunity that would pull you away from FS?
I don't know. I don't think if I'm doing strength and conditioning, I don't see myself doing anything outside of Forever Strong. I think, if anything, it would be to open up another Forever Strong and run it in a different state. If anything, but I'd still be. Yeah, I think Forever Strong is that's just who I am. That's a part of me, and whatever the road takes me in terms of strength and conditioning, that's probably where I stay forever. But if anything changes, then it would probably be a different career.
Tell me a little bit about, you mentioned medical retirement. What does that mean? So if you don't mind.
Yeah, so medical retirement is if you have like an injury, a career-ending injury, basically in college.
Okay.
And so I have a heart condition. So I had heart surgery in 2012, and so basically when I asked to come back on the team, I had to sign a bunch of documents, make agreements with a bunch of specialists saying that if your heart gets worse, then you got to stop. So in 2015, my cardiologist pulled the plug on my college career because he said that my heart is getting worse.
And that psychologically, what did that do? Where did that put you psychologically? Like, because you had this just dream and aspiration to go to the NFL, and all of a sudden now, boom, impossible.
Yeah, this is probably the worst feeling. It's one of the darker times in my life for sure. And we call it our Fuck the World tour. Yeah. For lack of better words. Yeah. That's where it put me. But yeah, it was tough, man. Like it took me a really long time to get out of that funk. And basically what happened when that doctor pulled the plug, I tried to go to practice and be a part of the team like a lot of guys do, but I just couldn't do it. I couldn't watch. So I actually left Oregon State and came down. My brother was doing his second expansion. He was moving into the building he's in now, and I just came down, and I didn't talk to anybody. I just kind of cold up, took my stuff and left. I was in the middle of a term. So I stopped going to class. I stopped going to practice. The coaches and my teammates were texting me like, "Where you at? What are you doing?" And I just ignored them all. I couldn't do it. So I was in here. Came down here and helped my brother with that expansion, and and I was just really struggling. It's really a dark place, and I think the biggest thing for me was like I dedicated my life to that sport. I think when you put your all into something because you believe that, hey, the whole point of this is if you work your ass off, you put 100% effort to it, and your dreams come true, and that's what I did. So I sacrificed a lot for that for 20 plus years, and to come up short in something that's out of my control was really hard for me to understand. And so yeah, it was pretty shitty. Yeah.
What do you feel like pulled you out of that dark place, that Fuck the World tour and everything, to like get back on the track and everything and be like, I can do something with this?
It's my brother. Yeah, my brother and my family. I think working with him, because he went through a similar experience. Like when he was done with football, it was the same thing. Like he struggled for a while, and then he ended up working a regular job for the government, and then he was miserable. And he gained a ton of weight. And this is when I was in high school, and he ended up calling my dad and said, he said, "Dad, I'm unhealthy. I've gained a lot of weight, and I'm unhappy. What can I come home and train? Because that's the only thing that I can remember that brought me happiness. Can I come home and train with you and Dev while Dev gets ready? Because I was getting ready to go to my JUCO, Snow College." And we said, yeah. So he hopped on the next train. He quit his job and came and trained with me and my dad for months. He lost all the weight, and then that's how he started his journey into coaching. Because, happiest moment in his life while he was getting ready for football was us training together. And then that's when he began his journey, and talking to him during that time, because I was with him I was just with him, nobody else, and just watching him grind to build the gym, and just seeing that, it made me realize like there is life after football.
Literally manifesting.
Yeah, it's not the end of the world. I can do something else with my life, and so like it just really helped. And also, he gets on my head. Stop being a bitch.
So let me ask you something, and you bring up a really good point overall, I think. Do you think that too many young people, especially minorities, focus too heavily on the dream of success in athletics? Yeah. Like, do you think that it's, to some degree, it's their own sense of slavery, for lack of a better word, because this is what people tend to believe is this is all I have to offer the world. This is all I'm capable of doing. Do you think that society is feeding too much into that, where athletics is so important that they don't have anything beyond that, or they don't think they have anything beyond that? Do you understand what I mean?
Yep, I get it. And I think basically when it comes down to that question, I feel like when it comes to minorities or anybody that grows up in certain situations, that's just what we believe. That's what I thought. So that's what my brother thought. Like there's the only way to make it for our family is to play football or rap.
Yeah.
You know, like that's just what we thought.
Essentially entertainment.
Exactly. So because that's what we see. You know what I'm saying? So like, that's what's portrayed to us. So that's why we sacrifice everything. Now, if I knew what I know now, then I would have a lot more options as a kid.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that's where I kind of agree with that statement, because we don't really learn that stuff in school. They don't teach us to be self-sufficient. I don't feel like, you know, they don't teach us how to like, you know, do our taxes.
Public school is trash.
You know what I'm saying? Like we don't learn. Like they didn't teach us any of that. Like I feel like if I would have known how to invest as a kid, like, or even in high school, I'd be in a different ballpark.
Well, even a trade, just learning how to learn new things.
Yeah,
I think that's important.
Yeah, I think it's really important. And I think one thing my brother and I have done since I've been here is we're always trying to learn new skills. And so right now he's building his house, and so we've been helping him with that. But like the amount of stuff that I've learned in this time has been incredible. Yeah. Like those are things that I would never thought I would ever be capable of. You know what I'm saying? I just didn't think that was for me. You know, like we're not meant to do that. You know, same thing as investing.
And that's the problem. Yeah, I think that's the overall problem right there.
100%. Like if you grow up and you think and you put these limitations on yourself, that's a huge problem, right? So that's basically what we grew up with. Like we grew up limited, and mentally it was added to that. So like when you put all your eggs in one basket because you think that's all you have, that's a huge problem, right? But if we look back, you know, I'm thinking about like, look at these other kids, right? These other kids had more opportunities because they were told that they had more opportunities. Like this picture was portrayed to them. Yeah. Right? Like you can do this, you can do that, you can work with your money this way. But us, that wasn't portrayed. It was just this. Like this is your ticket. Yeah. That's your meal ticket.
Do you think that was a, and I'm not trying to make your parents look bad or anything. Do you think that was a parental thing, more parental or more societal?
I think it's more societal. My parents are hard workers, man.
Yeah.
Like, my dad is the hardest worker I know. You know, my mom is a hustler. Yeah. You know, so like the things we learn from them play a big role in how we are today and why we think the way we think. So, but I think they got put in a similar position. They're immigrants, right? And so they're immigrants. They come here and then like, you know, back then, you know, like being honest, like jobs were hard to come by, you know, for an immigrant woman or an immigrant man. Like you're not gonna go walk into a Fortune 500 company and get a job whether you have a college degree or not, you know, like so. They have to grind. They have to grind from bottom to top. Like my mom started out cleaning offices, you know, and just my brother used to tell me stories of how she used to take him with him, and she'd just be cleaning up, mopping up offices, cleaning toilets and stuff like that. And then she worked her way up. She ended up getting a job at Costco, and then ended up having a really good career there, and worked her way up to a management position. And then she retired over there. My dad, he just worked security. He's a big, strong guy, but those are the opportunities that were given to him. So he was working security, ended up working for security for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and that's where he ended up retiring. But I remember like my dad working 16-hour days. He'd take the bus to work. He didn't have a car in the freezing snow, and then he'd come back, hasn't eaten a thing all day, and we'd have hardly any food on the table, and he'd take his meal and give it to us and go to sleep and get ready and go back to work. Yeah. And so like that's what I grew up with. Yeah. You know, like that's the example I had, and I wouldn't ask for a better one, you know. So definitely would never blame my parents for anything. They worked, they did the best they could do with what they had, and they put us in a position to be really successful. And I think that's one of the greatest things about that.
So how then, since we're clearly your parents were grinders, how did society affect your perspective on your type of success? How do you think that was? Was it just simply because as a minority, you were led to believe in your own mind that this is all I'm capable of doing? I guess I just want you to go into a little bit further, if you can, about how society played into that.
Yeah, I think, you know, whether it's society or whether it's circumstance, you know, like at the end of the day, we're looking for the quickest way to make things happen.
Yeah.
Right. And so, yeah, society paints the picture that this is the only way.
Because they glamorize.
Exactly.
Thanks.
So like, because that's what we see. They always say like, I'm not seeing a Polynesian kid investing in Bitcoin on TV. Like you don't see that. You're not seeing that. So like what we see is baller Polynesians in the NFL.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like that's like, hey, like he made it, I can make it.
So
even our family makes it there. So
do you think that it's racist for? I personally think it's racist for people to pity people based on their culture. And that's what you see in a lot in the white culture, especially nowadays, where it's like you overcompensate, you pity these people, which in my eyes, it's racism.
I think there's a lack of understanding. I think when it comes to these things like white privilege or racism, like I think it's just all based on understanding. Nobody understands each other, and they make assumptions. So like.
And then they're afraid to get to know somebody.
Exactly. I honestly think if you want to solve all these problems of racism or whatever, like just put people in a room and let them talk, let them get to know each other. Because one example is let's just talk about my football team, right? We come from different backgrounds, from different ethnic groups, from different income, whatever, family income. And we all have one common goal, and we get to know each other, and we end up becoming friends with kids that you would never think you'd become friends with.
It's beautiful, yeah.
Because you're a lot more alike than you think. You listen to the same music, you like the same things, you like the same activities, and you all love football, and you're there and you work together to win games. But it's a beautiful thing, and I think that's what we're missing. Yeah. In terms of those kind of things. I think there's not enough face-to-face conversation, and there's not enough people putting themselves in their shoes. Like everybody wants to have an opinion on everything. Everybody wants to say they know what this person goes through, or this is wrong, or that's right, and that's right, when they really have no clue of anything.
Well, they have no real perspective.
Exactly.
We talk about this a lot, where everybody wants to have an opinion, but if they don't have a perspective, your opinion doesn't really mean shit.
Yeah.
It's just an opinion.
Why do you think that is, that those conversations like don't happen? Like you said, a lot of it can be solved if you just put people in a room together. Like, why do you think those things don't happen?
Because people don't want to be wrong, right? Like nobody wants to be wrong these days. Nobody is humble enough to say, hey, I messed up. Like nobody wants to do that.
Yeah.
That's why they hide behind a screen and they say what they want to say, because they at that moment they think they're right. And no matter what you tell them through a social media post, they can continue to argue with you. But if you talk to them face to face, they don't have time to go look at their little fact checkers or whatever. They don't have time. They have to sit there and really think about it and say to someone, it's not easy to debate someone to their face and try to get heated argument. Nobody likes the confrontation if they're being real. They're afraid of that, and nobody wants to admit they're wrong. Nobody does, and that's one of the biggest problems I see with just people and human nature these days. They're so concerned about being right that they go to these extreme measures. They lie their face off. They do all these crazy things instead of just, if they would just say, hey, I messed up, or hey, let's talk about this. How can we fix this problem? Man, we'd be in a different world. Be a whole different place. We'd be in a different
Flying
place.
Car's already out.
Exactly. Like that's. Yeah. But I think that's why those conversations happen, because people are afraid to admit that they're wrong.
Do you think you do well with that?
I think I still struggle with that. I think I've gotten a lot better. I think early on, like that was one of my biggest weaknesses, is like I wanted to be right. You know what I'm saying? And I think everybody goes through a phase. I think everybody deep down has that. Like, okay, I'm gonna fight to the end to prove my point. But I think I've been wrong enough to understand, and I've learned the hard way to admit that I'm wrong when I'm wrong. But like it serves for a lot better conversation. It serves for a lot better problem solving, and I think
relationship. Yeah,
relationship, and that's the biggest thing I think I found with that. Like taking that humble pie and understanding, like, hey, and actually listening. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think the biggest thing we also fall short of is that nobody listens. like they hear, you know, like they're like, oh yeah, that makes sense, but nobody really listens to what the other person's saying, whether they believe them or not. Yeah. Everybody wants to hear, you know, what they believe, right? You tell somebody what they believe is right, and you point a bunch of points out on why they're right, they're gonna eat that up. Oh, yeah. But you start telling them why they're wrong, nobody listens to that side of it, and I think that's a problem. Like. Yeah. I think you have to intently listen to both sides. And then you got to think, if you really want to prove your theory correct or what you believe correct, you need to be able to find ways to combat the reasons why you're wrong. And if you can find reasons why you're wrong, then your theory can be proven. It's just like any scientific study. Yeah, so you know what I'm saying? Like they have data, they have all these things, but you can't prove any theory correct unless you can take all those points.
Test it.
Exactly. It says you test all those points and experiment. And so I think that's another reason why, that's another issue.
Well, part of communication, and there's a quote that says, well, I don't know who said it, but if as a listener, once you think you have the answer, you stop listening. Yeah. Once you think you know the answer, you stop listening. So that's the problem. Yeah. When you're talking and I get an answer in my mind, I'm no longer listening because I want you to hear my answer. And
that I've seen that happen so many times. Like they already have the answer in their head, so you're trying to explain like, hey, this is another option, and they're like, no. Yeah. And so instead of, and then the worst is like you see a lot of times is when you're trying to pose a different, you know, idea, sometimes they get offended. Like they start getting defensive of their idea when you're not trying to offend them at all. Like you're just trying to like, hey, this is a valuable, this is a good option. Like this is what we can do. This is another option that we might need to change that up. And then they start like feeling like they're getting attacked or something, and they get defensive. When in reality, it's just like if you sit back and you actually just listen, like, okay, so this is what he is saying or she is saying, why there's a problem with my idea. Yeah. Right? Okay, so how can I make it not a problem? And I guarantee you'll solve a problem. Yeah.
Okay, so let's shift gears a little bit. What got you into boxing?
Boxing. Well, you know, my brother again. Yeah. We grew up around boxing a little bit. My cousins were always fighting, and we were always doing dumb stuff. Mm-hmm. But and we always watched it. We always loved it. But one thing that really started getting into boxing was my brother. He always watched it, but then he's always trying to push himself to do new things, you know, so he wanted a new challenge, and that was one. He's like, I kind of want to box. Just out of the blue, I want to box, so I'm going to learn how to box, like the right way. And so he started studying, going on a deep dive, and started teaching himself how to box, and then teaching me how to hold mitts, because he had nobody else to hold mitts for him. So he's like, okay, let's teach you how to hold mitts. So while he was teaching himself how to box, he was teaching me how to hold mitts and box. Nice. And then slowly, I just started enjoying it. I started liking it, and just, you know, listening and watching those videos that he was watching, and kind of getting a deep dive, like understanding the science of it, and like, cause you know, even me, like back then, I just thought, oh, it's just fighting. Yeah. You know, UFC, boxing, just fighting. You know, that's all I thought it was. But understand, like learning the science behind it, and like the chess match that goes on inside it, like that's a beautiful thing. That's a really beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Amen. What would you say are some of the best lessons, whether from boxing or like strength and conditioning, that you've taken and applied in the outside world, like non-gym stuff?
Ooh, there's a lot. I think when it comes to strength and conditioning, the biggest one is perseverance. I think consistency is a huge trait, and like just toughness. You know, mental fortitude, like. Those things you have to have, and those things that I have gained through strength and conditioning and through boxing, that really helped me become a better coach, and then also carries over to what I do in my day-to-day. I think a lot of life lessons are to come just from mental toughness, right? Your ability to stick through things, your ability to weather the storm. I think that's a huge attribute that I think is often overlooked too when it comes to that stuff.
What is your favorite aspect of coaching training? What, like in the gym today, right now, do you like, because you rehab me for the past year, we're working on all kinds of issues, powerlifting, athletic training, you know, just what's your favorite aspect of what you do? What do you least like doing, I guess?
That's one of the ones I had wrote down too.
Oh, nice.
No, I love it all. I think I just love I love the challenge. I think my favorite aspect is just the gratification you get when somebody succeeds that you helped. Yeah. And that's one of the most addicting feelings on the planet, right? So that's what I feel like my favorite part of coaching is, and that's why I try to learn as much as I can, and that's why I really push myself to be the best coach I can be, because anybody that walks in and says, hey, I'm going to train with Dev, I want to make sure that they leave with what they want and more, and I think that's the best feeling. Like when you get, like for example, one of our athletes just got put on full scholarship in Nevada. It's a great feeling. You know what I'm saying? So like, my least favorite is I don't know. I don't really have a least favorite, but I think it's just I don't know. I don't really have one. I think I love everything about coaching. I think
there's not something that's just like the monotony of it is like.
No,
or challenging.
Yeah, I think because I like the challenges. I like that stuff. I think when it comes to coaching, I think for me it doesn't really get too monotonous. But I don't know. I think the thing the thing I have the hardest time with is trying to understand different people's personalities. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't say that's I wouldn't say like it's a bad thing. That's a skill that I've had to really learn how to do over time. Like when I first started, like I used to be pretty cut and dry. Like, hey, you do this is how you do it, get it done. But like understanding how to motivate different people's personalities has been a really hard thing to do, because everybody is just so different. Like it's just, you can't motivate, Jenny the same way you can motivate Brad. Like they're two different people, and if you try to, you're gonna fail in one way, shape, or form. So like that's a hard thing. I think they call it like interpersonal communication. Like that part has been really hard for me to do. Kind of. Do you think it's because I'm assuming you're a bit of an introvert? Yeah, 100%. Okay. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I'm a homebody. You guys. There's a reason why you guys don't see me out do anything outside of the gym. Like that's about as social as I get. And I put a different hat on when I'm in the gym for sure. Like a lot of people, if you see me outside of the gym, I probably will ignore you, but not because I'm an asshole, but just because like that's just real naturally, that's how I am. Like I try to avoid people in the store, or I'm an introvert, so like I don't want to have those conversations. I'm not trying to be mean or anything. I just get uncomfortable really quick. And so, but in the gym, I've learned to put that hat on and be a little more social, be a little more, friendly and understand people. But it's also a good skill that's helped me with other things outside of the gym. When I have to talk to people or make deals or go to meetings. Have to. So we go to, if I'm meeting with different coaches, trying to show them what we can do for their teams or whatever, that's really helped me.
What are some advice that you could give a person to get them out of their rut? I mean, what is something that can inspire somebody? I guess everybody's different. We're all individuals.
Everybody's. It depends on the rut. I think the hard part when coming from experience is when you're in a rut. Like in your mind at that time, nobody understands you. You know what I'm saying? Like nobody can understand what you're going through. That's just how you think. That's how you feel. So anything that is said to you is like, come on, man. Like you don't know what I'm feeling right now. And so like a lot of times to get through to someone that's in a rut, you just got to show them, right? You got to show them the option that they have. You can't talk. You can't do it.
Lead by example.
You got to lead by an example, or you got to like just kind of like slowly lead them into their position, right? So, but like if you sit there and just, okay, listen to this motivational speech or let me talk you to death, like it's not going to work. At least it didn't work for me. Yeah. It was like my brother wasn't sitting there, you got to do this and be like this. This is great. No, he just was working. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? My dad didn't talk a lot when we were kids. He just worked, so like that's was like, okay, I really have no excuse. Because then you see like these guys went through a similar situation, but they're not quitting. Yeah. Right? They're not giving up on life. They're not rolling over in their grave and saying, I'm done, I give up. Yeah. That I think that's how you,
and playing victim.
Yeah, exactly. They're not making excuses for themselves. They're not feeling sorry for themselves. So why are you? That's kind of how it was for me. So I think when when I get people that are in a rut or whatever, just ask me for advice, I just you tell them to keep pushing, and then you give them an example maybe that a personal experience where that you can relate to them and that you're relatable, and then you just keep grinding, and then hopefully they kind of catch on.
Get that bug.
What would you say about getting like that first step going for people that really just struggle to like take that first step forward and try and build on that snowball effect and everything?
That's the hardest part. I think the first step will come. I think telling people. I think the hard part is you just got to do it. Like that's the shitty part about it. It's like you will never know until you just say like, I just take the leap of faith, or just say I got to make climb that first rung, or dig that first shovel up, or build that first platform to get yourself out of that hole. You have to take the risk, or whatever, however you want to say it. Like, but it takes time. I think that
be able to be vulnerable. Would you say that?
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. Like, I think you have to be vulnerable, and you have to understand like you can't be here forever. You know what I'm saying? Like, and you have to see like there is an opportunity out there for you or for whoever. But yeah, it's not an easy first step to take for sure. Yeah.
You said, remind me of another one. You said we're not going to be here forever. How do you want to be remembered, as far as both a coach and an individual? Because at some point, I mean, we're all going to cease to exist.
Yeah. No, I think I just want to be remembered as somebody who, really helped, did the best he could to help everybody that I love, all my loved ones. Like my goal is to put everybody that helped me at some point, or all my family especially, to play a part in their success. And I think that's really important for me. That's really my main goal. It always has been. And I think if I go and everybody that I love and care about is taken care of, and they're in a place of happiness or whatever, then I'm good. Yeah.
So we had a podcast the other day that's obviously our podcast can get kind of controversial. We all have opinions and perspectives, and so there was a term that was used. One of us mentioned fat people, and we got some feedback, and it wasn't good feedback. It was constructive criticism. The term fat tends to be a trigger word for a lot of people. We didn't like really make it clear that we were talking about obese people. There's a difference between big, thick. You're a big dude. You're a thick dude. You may be overweight or not, and there's a big difference between a person your size and somebody that's like 200 pounds more than you. Mm-hmm. That's kind of where we were talking about, but we didn't really make it that clear. What would you say to people that are so? For me, if a word like that triggers you, that's where you have to analyze yourself. Like, why did I personalize this? Why did that word affect me this way, and to an insulted level? What do you do with that? What do you do as a coach, as a trainer, knowing that people are out of shape, knowing that people are scared? I think it's like scary overweight at times. And I don't mean to be offensive, but I'm not that person that's going to be like, oh yeah, you're doing fine. No, you're not doing fine. You're going to have a heart attack, type of thing. Mm-hmm. As a coach, and again, there's a difference between being big and thick and beautiful and stuff like that, and very sickly obese, and that's kind of what we were talking about. But when somebody is so insecure with their body that they get to a point where they're just like, I use the term apathy, where it's like, whatever, just giving up on life. What do you do with a person like that?
I think this goes back to what I was saying, by learning how to motivate different people. Yeah. As I coach in my time, I've had to really learn how to choose my words wisely. Yeah. And for some people, they're like, man, that you shouldn't have to, like, be careful of what you say. Like, people, just like you said, like, that's how I was raised, right? That's just how we were raised. Like, hey, if you're out of shape, you're out of shape. Get your ass on the treadmill, get to work. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's how we were raised. But everybody's different, and so like. And for me as a coach, I've dealt with a lot of people, and I've said the wrong thing at the wrong time, and I've had it backfire, but I've learned from those mistakes, right? And so, in our field, we're motivators, hey, we're coaches, we're mentors in a lot of ways. In a lot of ways, you know, like those people lean on us to guide them to that spot, to where they don't have to hear that word and feel insecure about it.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's our job to be conscious of that. So as a coach, I would say, you know, it's our job to find a different way to explain it.
Yeah.
And it sucks at times, you know, like it's not the easiest route, but our job isn't supposed to be easy.
So would you say that you're catering to somebody that's got a weak mind, mentally weak? And to some degree, you have to build them up?
I wouldn't say that they have a weak mind. I think they're just in a position to where they just feel that they're sensitive in that aspect, right?
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with being sensitive at the time. And yes, they may have put themselves in that position, but it's our job to help strengthen that mind.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's our job to help them believe in themselves again.
Gotcha.
And you know, if I were just to go and be like, hey, you're fat, you know what I'm saying, you gotta lose weight.
Yeah.
That may not do the trick. For some people it might. Like if someone were to tell me that, I'm like, gosh, okay, I gotta get to work.
Yeah.
But somebody you can't say it like that. You gotta be like, hey, this is where you're at right now. Let's be realistic. One, we gotta be realistic, which you're right about that. But I feel like how you portray that to them, the realism of their situation, is really important.
Yeah.
And then from there, you can take them to the promised land.
Gotcha.
And then that's how I would handle that situation for sure.
Yeah. Okay.
I say one thing I try bringing forward in dealing with similar situations is talking about quality of life for people. Because like at a certain degree, you know, you're not going to be living a great quality of life. Like you talk about, there's a difference between big and fat and thick and all that and everything too. But like the way Des built, he'd never be 220. He'd be anorexic at 220, you know? But like he has a good quality of life and everything too. And it's like, even I've never been 300 pounds, everything, but from my heaviest, I know my quality of life was like, it was tougher, you know? But like I was training for certain things too, but it's kind of like, you know, do you have a lot of visceral fat and everything too, where it's sticking around your organs and everything like that, where it's like you said, you're going to have a heart attack, shit like that. But sensitivity with people is a very pretty common thing. Yeah. It's like,
well, and that's what it's almost too easy nowadays to be offended by stuff.
Yeah.
And that's where I said the weak minded, because I believe that so many people these days just want to play victim. And to a certain degree, and of course you know me by now, I'm more about real talk. Mm-hmm. It just is what it fucking is.
Oh, yeah.
And that's you know, but you guys all know me. Yeah. I'm a business owner. I fucking just do. I don't talk about it. It's like, okay, I'm gonna take the leap and analyze the fuck ups after I take the leap, type of thing. That being said, I do understand your position that you have to. You're working with people on a psychological level as well as a physical level. And that's what I appreciate about you the most, because you're able to do that, whereas I don't give a fuck. I do care. Don't get me wrong. You guys all know I care, but at the same time,
fuck you.
Bro, you fucking, let's do this. I'll fucking jog with you. Let's go.
Yeah, and I think also, you know, I think one term that's really overlooked as coaches is empathy. And I think that's where that comes in. I think your ability to empathize with somebody that's in that position and sensitive to that thing. Because at the end of the day, like, I grew up in a family where we just clown each other all day long. Yeah. Right. We roast each other. We find ways to pick apart each other's flaws. That's just what we did. You know, like, and so we kind of have thick skin, right? But that shit still hurts. You know what I'm saying? Like, because it was probably real, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, we'll be laughing, you know, we'll be roasting each other laughing, but deep down, like, man, man, that would have got me a little bit, you know? Yeah. I mean, we're all sensitive, you know what I'm saying? Like, no matter which way you shape it, flavor it, like, we're all sensitive, and, like, you're going to take a word or whatever that's directed at you a certain way. How you hide it, how you laugh it off, how you handle it is everybody's different in that aspect, but I think that's why it's important to kind of empathize with everybody on a different level. And like, I've been overweight. I've been an athlete at one of the highest levels. I've been you know, like, very unathletic when I was younger, and I've had to work for those things. So I've seen a lot of different backgrounds, and I've also felt a lot of different emotions. Yeah. And so, like, when someone comes to me and they talk about certain things, or they feel a certain way, or they get offended by a certain thing, I can kind of sit there and analyze the situation and be like, okay, let's how do how do we find the best way to get this person to where they want to be, whether it's through how I encourage them with the certain words that I pick, whether it's the exercises that I choose for them during their workout, and or it's the progressions that we choose to get them to their goals. I think that's what it all comes down to, and I think empathy plays a role in all those things. Yeah. And I think a lot of coaches don't really think about that when they're talking to people.
Well, I think a lot of coaches don't have the level of emotional intelligence that you have either, which you've learned through trial and error.
Yeah.
What would you say, if any, because I know there's a big variety, is your favorite type of person to coach, as far as the rehab people, you got your athletes. I know with your personal experience in athletics and everything, I'm sure you have fun with that and everything, but they all present their different challenges and approaches and everything like that. Do you have one that you favor towards?
I mean, I love them all. I mean, I love training the athletes. That's I would say that's where I have the most fun. But the challenge of the return to play people or the rehab, the people the challenge of that is really, really a different ballgame. And I think
you could say my name.
Yeah, no. But the reward from that is the best. I'd say helping people solve that problem. Whether it's the knee or the shoulder or the back. Getting them to where they can do the things that they want to do without the pain. I think that challenge and that the reward from that is really good. The strength athletes, I think, for me, that's the hardest. I think that's the hardest for me in terms of because it's so technical.
Like powerlifting?
Yeah, so strength athletes. So everybody's so different, and you have to figure out what works best for them, right? Mm-hmm. What stance works best for them, based on their strengths, their weaknesses. Okay, well, how does this problem affect this thing? What accessories are best for them? Because when you're trying to build strength for an athlete, everybody can't just do the same thing. You can't go incline bench, triceps to strengthen your bench. I wish you could, that'd be nice. But, some people, incline bench doesn't carry over to their bench as much as a dumbbell skull crusher would, right? And you have to figure that out. And I think that challenge is always a little tough for me in terms of programming and getting people to where they want to be strength-wise. But it's another challenge that I've actually enjoy, and it's really fun. I think like I said, every type of person that I train has its benefits. If it's a weight loss client, same thing. Getting them to that weight that they want to be at, or that feeling that they have, and just seeing that smile on their faces. There's nothing more gratifying than that. And I think getting an athlete to hit the pinnacle of his success or her success to where they're playing at a high level and they're feeling good, they're feeling great, they're feeling athletic, they're getting stronger, faster, and more athletic. Getting a strength athlete to hit those PRs on the platform, or getting a rehab person to be able to do the things that they thought they could never do again. I think it all is just amazing. It's just a really, really fun thing.
Their success is your success.
100%. Yeah.
Do you feel like you've had, and again, you have a lot to pick from and everything, but do you feel like you've had one or two that stand out as the most challenging you've ever had?
Yeah, and I think it starts early. Because, I've had to learn and the crazy thing is everybody that I've trained has helped me with the next person that I train.
Yeah.
And I think that's the coolest thing about it, right? So the first kind of rehab-ish, and I'm not a PT, so I don't do rehab. I just do post-rehab, so people will come to me and be like, hey, I need to get to this point, and that's what I help them do, right? So I'm like an after-rehab guy. But I think the hardest one was my first kind of rehab-ish client was her name was Jan Dura, and I think she was really tough because that was the first time I'd taken on anything like that. But she just came. She said she hadn't been able to walk for 14 years or so, and they've gone to a variety of PTs, specialists, whatever, and they haven't had any success. So they're just kind of on their last straw. They just want to try one more thing. And her husband had been working out and had got to know her husband, so that's why he brought her in, see if I could help her. And I was, at first, when she came in on her walker, I was like, oh no, I can't do this.
Oh, fuck.
So I was like, no, that's not my scope of practice here. And they told me their story, and I just kept it real. I was like, well, I don't know if I can help you. I could but give me 2 weeks. Let me study up on her issues and let me see if there's anything I could offer. And if I feel like there is something, then we can go for it. But I don't want to waste your time or money, so let me do some research first. And I found an approach that hadn't been touched yet, which was basically just strength. Strengthen her from the ground up, and no one had really thought to do that and based on her case. And so I was like, let's try it. I said, let's try it, and then if it doesn't work out, then we'll go from there. And so it ended up working. She was able to kind of walk again and do different things, and gave her some more options. And she's I still train her to this day. So she still has her ups and downs, and we work through them. And but she's come a long way, and it's really exciting.
And like personally knowing some of her background too, like what a person to have for your first one. As
Yeah,
far as
no, it was, I mean, it was hard. It was definitely like I had to study a lot, but like because of her case, the next person that came in, was a little easier. I had to study less, and then after that, it was less, and then it all comes full circle, and then you kind of start understanding a little better how the human body works. How it moves biomechanically, if you will, and how the structures play off each other, where it's muscle, skeleton, or nerves, and then from there, it's just like you once you figure that holistically, then you can kind of pinpoint and figure out how to solve those problems a little better.
One other one too. You talked about never really leaving FS and everything unless you were to open up another one. Do you have an ideal location that would be another one?
I don't. I'm good with whatever.
Someplace warm? Right?
Yeah. I'm good with whatever, It all depends on what the plan is, Vic is the master planner, so I just kind of leave it up to him. That's his job. And I just, I'm boots on the ground. So that's how we take it. So whatever the plan goes, and he's like, hey, let's do this. Let's put you in this position.
Hopefully
at this
it's
place.
Just
and
near me somewhere.
Yeah. And the good news is, and that's, I don't have kids. I don't have a girlfriend or anything, so I just I'm free.
Ladies, he is single.
Ladies.
Forever.
Christian forever.
No, but it gives me the freedom to do that, and I kind of love it. So it's like whatever the plan for the family is the best. I'm able to do whatever. So yeah.
Hey, I had a question. Cash and I were watching who was that? Russ Swole?
Yeah, I know Russell. Yeah, he's strong, mofo.
Yeah. So he was doing a deadlift, and I had mentioned it to you, and we had no idea. I was like, maybe it's weak knees. I don't know what it is. But anyways, he gets up, and his legs start shaking. What is that?
I mean, the easiest answer, it's a neurological thing. So let's put it this way: Have you guys ever had a cell phone with bad signal? Mm-hmm. So you're trying to talk to somebody with bad signal. Yeah. That's basically what it is. So your brain sends signals through neurons to your muscles to lift the weight.
Okay.
Right. Well, at a certain point during that lift, that connection was broken up.
Gotcha.
And that's basically what you're seeing happening. So there's a lack of connection to those muscles to fire all together at once, and so they start shaking because your brain wants to lift the weight, but it's not quite getting the signal through to the muscles, and it usually happens with heavier weight.
Yeah.
And so, there's a lot of, you'll go on YouTube and they'll be like, oh, you can train it this way, you can train it this way. Well, it's just technique. You got to get comfortable with the technique. I feel like that's just my opinion. You got to keep working the technique and working, if it's the knees, I say you got to work on fast knees or whatever to get that. And you just got to get your brain comfortable with that position, with that load. Yeah. And I think it takes some time, but for the most part, that's kind of basically what it is. There's other explanations, but I think that's the easiest way to explain it.
Top 3 coaches as far as who has taught you and just best coaches.
Shit, well.
In no order.
Well, I'm biased, so I'm gonna say my dad. I mean, I've learned so much from that guy growing up. I mean, he basically he's paved the way for this. I mean, he's taught us so much, and he was so ahead of his time. I think you look back, and it's so funny because me and my brother always joke about this, but at the time he'll be telling us to do stuff when we're younger, nah, Dad, that's stupid. And then you now you see it. It's like a staple in college strength and conditioning programs in colleges and stuff. One of the things with strongman, right? He's like, we need to do some strongman training in our training. And we're like, that's stupid, that's dumb. But we did it, and then next thing you know, then couple months later, you see University of Utah implementing a strongman Friday. You know, so it's just like he's from the island, so he doesn't speak the best English. So like he's not the best at like trying to explain what he's thinking. So we don't always understand it. But he knows what he's doing, so he'll just make us do it, and you know, like it's just crazy. So like he's I mean, he was always researching. Like he was powerlifting on his own. He was in the library just reading, and like for an immigrant person who, you know, he basically, my mom taught him how to speak English. He came to America, didn't know how to speak English.
Wow,
you know what I'm saying? So like
he speaks very good English for not knowing how to speak
exactly.
English.
So like, you know, but like. The things we've learned from that guy, and even today, right? He tells us things about nutrition all the time, and we're over there like, Dad, whatever. Yeah. And the next thing you know, like these scientific experts will be talking about the benefits, or this study came out. And it's like he's an OG, but he's on top of his stuff. So I'd say my dad's up there, and then obviously my brother. I've learned a lot from him, and I still learn a lot from him, even in the coaching world. So the funny thing about my brother is that he's another one that I feel like is always ahead of his time in terms of the coaching. You know what I'm saying? Like he can step away from coaching, but like it's so easy to him that he can figure a problem out like this. Yeah. Like if I come to him and be like, hey, I got this athlete that's struggling with this, it's like 2 seconds. Well, just try this. I'm like, you've been watching DIY videos on how to build your house. How do you even remember this? You know? So like, but it's just second nature to him. He's just got it unlocked. And so those two are definitely my favorite, because I listen to a lot of coaches, you know, and it's not a yes, I'm biased to my family, but like I listen to a lot of coaches. I listen to their theories. I study them. I study their reasons why, and I use a lot of their stuff. But like in terms of holistic approach to training, I think that's what those two they've set in stone everything, and it always comes full circle, right? So like. Those two would definitely be my top two, and then my third, I think, top influential coach. I'd probably say Coach Simon from Oregon State. He was one of my mentors. He's like the only mentor outside of my brother and my dad. So I learned a lot from him while I was there, and it was a lot like in terms of you know, a lot in terms of like how you interact with people. You know, the importance of things. I mean, he do this every day. So every about 20 minutes or so, or 30 minutes, he would walk around and say hello to everybody in the weight room. He didn't coach half the kids out there. He coached the football team. He didn't coach any other teams. But he wanted to get to know all the kids on the other teams. And then he would go, and we were interns for the strength conditioning, but he'd have us, you know, make us help the athletic training group or make us help the nutrition group, make sure everything was set up. And then he was like super picky about how things looked, right? So like if we're setting up the bars, like the nutrition bars for the teams to come in, like it had to be a certain way. We had to angle this a certain way, or he'd be like, hey, this platform is off, let's knock it into place. He was very detail oriented with that stuff, and I think I learned a lot. I learned a lot from that in terms of you know, like, you know, just putting yourself out there and like not being afraid to like, hey, go introduce yourself. And I still struggle with that. Like I hate going to introduce myself to people. I think it's weird, but that's something that I've got.
It's weird to say hi to people.
Yeah, you know, like it's just, like, you know, you're in the gym, someone's working. Hey, by the way, I'm Coach Devan. Nice to meet you. How's your day going? Like, I have my headphones in, bro. Like I'm not trying to, I'm not trying to get to know you right now. You know, so that's just like. That's why I feel like it's weird. But he would just walk up to them. They'd be in the middle of their set, wait for him. Hey, I'm Coach Simon. Nice to meet you. How's your day going? How we doing? And they'd be like, oh, it's good.
I'm that creeper in the gym. I am that dude.
That's not creepy.
No, I know. I'm just joking.
It's not at all. But I think it's a good skill.
I actually pride myself on that.
Yeah, it's a good skill to have. Yeah. I think it's to be comfortable with. I think that's a good skill. That's a skill that I don't have. That, you know, I still try to work on.
I used to challenge myself, especially when I was in school, but at the gym where I would try and meet somebody new every day. And I used to remember names. I fuck names now. I just like, it's gone. I can't remember.
You know who's really good with that is Craig.
Yeah, Craig Beer.
Yeah.
Always
he's great. Yeah, everybody. And he's come up to me a couple times too. Like, hey, remind me of that person's name.
Yeah,
and he'll walk over. Hey, how you doing?
Yep. Yeah, no, it's. I think it's a great skill. But yeah, those three would be my top three. I think they've kind of molded my coaching philosophy.
Good.
So,
cool.
Yeah. I got some rapid fire ones if you want to finish off with that.
Rapid fire. Let's go.
Rapid fire.
He's a rapper. Let's do this. He's on the mic.
Can put them all into
check.
Say it with the flow. Answer with the flow.
Salty or sweet?
Salty or sweet? Sweet.
Sweet. Would you rather be deaf or blind?
Deaf.
Reasoning? A little reasoning on that one?
I'm a visual person.
Fair
I
enough.
see it.
Favorite drink?
Ooh. Well, water. I love water. Cold water. Like cold water after a workout's the best drink ever. But outside of water, I'd probably say Mountain Dew.
Mountain Dew.
That's a huge extreme, man.
Either water or Mountain Dew.
Yeah,
No
you know?
energy drinks, but he'll drink the Mountain Dew.
Yeah, yeah.
Favorite dessert?
That's tough. Like cheesecake, strawberry cheesecake.
Strawberry.
That's
Yeah,
fire.
good.
Passy.
When would you say you're the most productive?
In the morning. Yeah,
You still doing 3 a.m. workouts? Is that?
here and there. You know,
Wild.
if we do work out, it's in the morning.
Yeah.
If you had a superpower and it couldn't be the power to have every power, what would it be?
The power to absorb every power. No, it's that's tough. I think time control.
Time control.
Yeah.
Like slowing it down, pausing, and everything like
Yeah,
that.
you know, just control it, going back in the time, forward in the time, whatever. Yeah, just the ability to control time, I think would be a cool power.
Favorite superhero?
Ooh, growing up, it was always Batman. But I've seen a lot of new superheroes, so it's kind of tough now. But you know, I gotta stick with my roots. I'm gonna just keep it with Batman.
Batman. Favorite car?
Jeez, that's a tough one. Rolls-Royce Cullinan,
Ooh.
I don't even know what that is. Favorite color?
black.
It's black. That's all I got.
There you go.
Awesome. Thank you, brother.
Yeah, for real.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If anybody needs a strength and conditioning coach, best dude in the Pacific Northwest.
And he's
possibly the
single.
country. And he's single. If any ladies need a smart man.
Yeah. Depends on the day.
Sweet.
Thank you guys.
Yes.